T-minus 55 minutes.
Start flight control final preps.
Roger.
This is Atlas Launch Control, T-minus 54 minutes, 40 seconds, and counting. Joining us now in the broadcast booth here in the Atlas Space Flight Operations Center is Jim Norman, who is the Director of Launch Services Human Exploration and Operations Mission Directorate at NASA headquarters. And Jim, tell us, first of all, a little bit about what that is and what your office does.
Thank you, George. You bet. I'm pleased to work in the Human Exploration and Operations Mission Directorate as the Director of Launch Services. That means that I get to provide myself and small staff, about 4 folks, provide oversight and strategic guidance to the Launch Services program. What that means is that we tend to be the Washington interface, dealing on policy issues, budgetary guidance, and providing strategic guidance with acquisition issues.
Now, how would you perhaps be working with the folks at SCAN?
So my colleague, Roger Eunice, is the director for SCAN there at headquarters, and so he and I work together when it's time for us to launch one of his satellites, and then his directorate also supports many of our launches with the constellations that he has on orbit.
And about how far out might he be talking with you about something?
Well, it depends, obviously, on the mission. We're talking, frankly, constantly on various issues there at headquarters. But a mission flow begins typically 3 years out.
So as we go down the chain a little bit, what is Launch Services Program and how do they work with you?
They're a great bunch. Launch Services Program, as most people know, is based here at Kennedy. The program manager, Amanda Miskevich, reports to me. She has a great team. Her and her deputy, Chuck Duval, have put together a terrific group here to do the Launch Services program. They're responsible for doing the acquisitions and providing the launch management for the commercial launch services that we procure. They do a great job working with the various customers, both within NASA and, frankly, across the civil sector, to make sure that we're able to procure launch services when our customers need it. And they have a great teaming relationship, I believe, with industry in order to provide very successful rides to the missions that need to get to orbit for NASA and the other civil missions.
So how often are you in communication with the Kennedy Group?
Quite often. We're speaking pretty much daily on various issues, and us letting them know about different things in terms of the environment. In DC, communicating, make sure we're coordinated there. One of the main features that my office does is work the interface with the Science Mission Directorate. And so my staff of 4 is communicating with them. And I'm communicating with, again, Amanda and Chuck quite often on various issues.
Well, Jim, thank you very much, and gives us some understanding about how that all fits together into an entity that ultimately leads to like a launch that we're having tonight.
And we're all looking forward to a good ride here for the satellite tonight as well.
And we're now at T-minus 51 minutes, 8 seconds and counting. This is Atlas Launch Control.
Atlas LO2 at 80%. Roger. Pressurize ECB to flight pressure. Roger. CLH2 at 40%. Roger.
T minus 50 minutes.
CLH2 50%.
Roger.
CLH2 60%.
Roger.
This is Atlas Launch Control, T minus 46 minutes, 45 seconds, and counting. Loading hydrogen onto the Centaur is already underway, and our countdown continues to go well. We're not working any issues, and weather continues to be green. So we're go for a 9:05 p.m. launch tonight. Upon liftoff, tracking of the Atlas V rocket will be done by the Eastern Range, beginning with the antennas at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and Kennedy Space Center. At a minute 13 seconds after liftoff, the Air Force downrange station near Jupiter Inlet in South Florida will also acquire the rocket and begin providing data. Then the last Eastern Range ground station to acquire will be at the island of Antigua in the Caribbean, which will take over supplying data immediately prior to loss of signal from Florida. Antigua will be supplying data until approximately 14 minutes into the flight, at which time data will be coming from the TDRS East Tracking and Data Relay satellite. As the rocket approaches the far side of the Earth, the Indian Ocean TDRS will begin furnishing data, as well as the Air Force tracking stations at Diego Garcia and Guam, which will be also covering at spacecraft separation, which occurs 1 hour 46 minutes after launch. Once TDRS-L is on its own, the initial contact will then be made through the Dungara tracking station on the west coast of Australia. At T-minus 45 minutes, 18 seconds and counting, this is Atlas Launch Control.
CLH2 80%.
Roger.
T minus 43 minutes.
CLH2 90%.
Roger.
T minus 42 minutes.
ECB at flight pressure. Roger.
Atlas LO2 at 97.5%, topping started.
Roger.